Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. Now they say the grunts time has come and passed. They've been saying that since man first developed a working, loving, and killing relationship with horses. They also said it when tanks began flying over the trenches at the Battle of Somme, or when the mimics attacked Earth and we turned towards the power of Tom Cruise and Scientology for salvation. But despite all of our advances in technology, at the heart of any good army is the infantry grunt. Whether you're trying to hold a hilltop against a tide of bugs, protect your armor as it rolls through the hostile city of Jeddah, or about to make a final assault on the Dolphin Queen's underwater citadel, you can't really do it properly without a bunch of ground pounders who are willing to get their hands dirty. Now, they might not be the most efficient military force or even the most powerful, and yes, they will probably suffer heavy casualties, but every military operation needs your grunts. And so today we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 most underrated infantry units in science fiction. Often overshadowed by their cran-munching cousins in the Marines and the ODST, who are terrific at taking or retaking territory, the infantry of the Unsc Army still played a vital role in humanity's devastating war against the Covenant. You see, the Army brings the heavy guns and the numbers once the territory has been taken. They're the ones who have to actually hold that new ground. On the World of Harvest, a group of militia trained by the washed-out walking oorah of a man known as Sergeant Avery Johnson facilitated the first contact between humanity and the Covenant. When these peace talks inevitably broke down over the issue of a particularly insulting watermelon, the infantrymen stepped up immediately and switched roles from mediators to combatants. Despite being heavily outnumbered, outclassed, and outgunned, Johnson's militia staged a fighting retreat that held up the Covenant, buying enough time to evacuate as much of the population as possible. After days of intense fighting, punctuated by continued loss and little gains against the enemy, the militia finally withdrew, taking out many of the brutes, grunts, and drones aboard the TR space station as they did so. And from then on, the Unsc Army would establish a very healthy tradition of killing all alien scum it runs into, thanks to Sergeant Avery's great example. On Reach, on Messera, Madrigal, and finally even on Earth, they fought and died to protect their worlds against the alien menace, a key part in humanity's struggle against extinction. Despite their heroics and ability to fight behind fortification, the Unsc Army still has not gotten its own tower defense Halo game, which it probably should. Patrolling in the Mojave makes you wish for a nuclear winter. By the Second Battle of the Hoover Dam in 2282, the new California Republic had already seen years of fighting experience. Between a rapid expansion of their borders under President Kimball, dealing with raiders, gangs, and wildlife in their own lands, and campaigns against both the West Coast and the Mojave chapters of the Brotherhood of Steel, the NCR Army was bruised and beaten. When Caesar's Legion began its crossing at Cottonwood Cove and began raiding the Mojave and destroying entire towns, all in preparation for the final assault on the Hoover Dam, it would have been completely understandable for the NCR grunts to pull out and head home along the Long 15. But no, they decided to stay and stand their ground. Not even nuclear fallout and radiation can evolve heroism out of humanity. The NCR had many successes. They had already driven the Brotherhood of Steel underground and taken out the vital solar power station Helios 1 in the process. They had also pushed into the blistering, inhospitable Mojave, overcoming gangs and the horrendous native wildlife to secure their position at Camp McCarran, the Mojave outpost, and the dam itself. They had established trade routes and a caravan outpost in New Vegas, a giant prison which could mine for resources in the desert, and perhaps most importantly of all, their ambassador had negotiated access for every NCR soldier to enter the New Vegas Strip, securing a vital asset for maintaining morale at the low cost of hemorrhaging their weekly pay on hookers and games of caravan. Now, the NCR Rangers were crucial in establishing an NCR foothold in this part of the country. But still, it was the army of civilian soldiers that truly secured the presence of California and Nevada, facilitating the closest possible path to a return of a pre-war fusion power divergent timeline of America. And they did this all without a real arms industry or any kind of supply chain. Their weapons, equipment, and even food was mostly scavenged or homemade. Such is the spirit of the NCR, a true post-apocalyptic army. They had beaten the Legion before and made them pay for every inch of ground they tried to gain during the Battle of Boulder City. And although we can't be certain if they're going to survive the Second Battle of the Hoover Dam, I have no doubt that they'll make the Legion pay again. On a battlefield where the enemy is likely to be a towering superhuman, a sadistic elf, or a horde of oversized green football hooligans, or a literal demon that wants to eat your soul, there isn't much to be said for the average man or his chances in the trenches. Against such overwhelming odds, a single human soldier should make no difference. And yet for tens of thousands of years, the Imperial Guard has formed the backbone of the Emperor's armies, fighting on every front and facing every enemy the galaxy has offered up. Under-equipped, under-trained, and unsung for their deeds, the faceless masses of the Imperial Guard truly embody the spirit of the infantryman in all of its khaki and forest-draped glory. Any human being who has survived a Warhammer 40k style battle with most of their limbs intact has perfected the skill of mimicking a human sandbag. With only their bayonets, standard issue balls of steel, and lasgun, which in this context is like bringing a flintlock musket to a modern firefight, the Imperial Guard have formed one of the largest fighting forces in human history, who has also held off some of the largest invasions in human history. Yet they have survived all sorts of threats, whether it be orcs, necrons, tyranids, the forces of chaos, and perhaps most dangerously of all, enthusiastic superior officers. A veteran guard knows not only how to kill the enemy, but also how to assume the shape and size of a sandbag when necessary. And most importantly, he knows how to avoid getting shot for insubordination by a commissar. There's a reason why during the 13th Black Crusade, the Cadian Gate was under the command of a former conscript of the Imperial Guard. Whereas the Space Marines go to war to seek glory for their chapter, and the Sororitas seek to venerate the Emperor with word and deed, a guardsman is a lot more practical. They're just trying to make it out the other side. It's a lot less noble, but it's super relatable and very practical. Whereas an Inquisitor or a Skitarii would try to use strange and temperamental weapons of the aliens or ancients, a guardsman knows the value of a bayonet, a hole in the ground, and artillery barrages. These are salt of the earth people, mud people, my people. Practicality, improvisation, initiative, and the ability to hide, these are the values instilled in every guardsman's sandbag. Without the soldiers of the Imperial Guardsmen filling every trench with their bodies and manning every gun line, the Imperium would have long ago fallen into ruin. Well, a worse ruin, at least. The First Battle of Geonosis, which we talk a lot about, established three truths. 1. Jedis don't know what cover is, and 2. LAATs need better safety rails, and a commando is not an infantryman. He does not wear government-issued undergarments because they restrict his mobility in combat. During this ill-fated first deployment of the Commando Corps of the Grand Army of the Republic, the Commandos suffered nearly 5,000 casualties, or 50% of their entire operational strength. Their Jedi generals, having only just been extracted from their suicidal rescue attempt of a Republic senator and her two pet Jedi from the middle of the overrun Petronaki arena, used the Commandos in an equally suicidal role as frontline soldiers. Look, one does not haphazardly throw individually wrapped Ferrero Rocher hazelnut chocolate love nuggets into the masses. That is what the fun-sized Snicker bags are for. The Jedi's choice to charge their clones under their command across the open plains of Geonosis towards the thousands of Separatist droids hunkered behind fortifications protecting their core ships showed just how little the Jedi understood the nature of war and the capabilities of their soldiers. Adventure and excitement is what the Jedi crave, and Geonosis turned into a bloodbath thanks to their view of the world. But whereas the Commandos simply didn't have the numbers to sustain large operations like this, and would for the rest of the war settle into their true role as special operatives, the regular clone troopers proved their worth in these large-scale attacks. Despite the confusion and sheer suicidal conditions of Geonosis, the clone troopers were able to absorb these horrendous casualties, and remain operational, buying time for their heavier artillery pieces to strike down several Separatist ships before they could leave the atmosphere. Sure, some of these large ships came crashing down and caused more friendly casualties, but clones can't vote in elections, so it doesn't matter. And as the Clone Wars progressed, the troopers would live up to this reputation of performance under pressure, spearheading the Outer Rim sieges and continuing to serve as the Republic's core offensive force across the years. Time and time again, they proved their adaptability and versatility, their key strength over the Separatist droids. The clone troopers would shape the galaxy's view of organics and tinnies for the generations to come. Names like the 501st and the 212th Attack Battalion became famous precisely because of the skill of these infantry soldiers, who were able to work under the most horrendous conditions and incompetent leaders and still get the job done. It's true what you say. It doesn't really matter who you put in charge of the JR. It could even be a weak way. They would still probably win every battle they faced. There'd probably also be a lot of looting and acts of piracy, because weakways. The mobile infantry of the Terran Federation had one of the rawest deals in science fiction. The Starship Troopers enter their military service pumped full of propaganda, which tells them of their superiority over the bugs. It also explains the importance and effectiveness of their very dangerous training and assures them that an easy and overwhelming victory will be achieved. But then, of course, Klendathu happened. There was no organization, no direction, seemingly no planning. Instead, a wave of eager young men and women fighting to be recognized as people by their fascist government were dropped directly onto a horde of giant killer bugs and eaten. The results were predictable. Despite some incredible medical technology, the mobile infantry still suffered over 300,000 casualties during the first Battle of Klendathu. Given the Federation's air capabilities and the effectiveness of oxygen nukes demonstrated later on in the conflict, you would have to wonder why a ground invasion was started at all. Plus, the Federation Navy really needs to get their spacing down. This isn't the Parkway on July 4th weekend. Come on, guys. Either way, the mobile infantry does embody the true spirit of a science fiction fighting force. They understand their job is to die in a very messy and confused manner for no particular purpose, at the direction of a sharply dressed man who isn't even on the same planet. They might not be equipped properly or deployed in proper formations or even given realistic mission objectives, but at least they'll be together when they're consumed by a swarm of carnivorous alien insects. I mean, how else are we going to be able to generate the right shots for the recruitment videos back at home? So there you have it, friends. These might not be the best equipped or most dangerous or even effective infantry units in science fiction, but certainly these are the ones that really embodies the true spirit of being a human meat shield. Although I would most likely not serve in any one of these units, it does actually behoove us to learn a little bit from their lessons in combat. Namely that incoming fire has the right of way, and that you only really need to hold on long enough so that the magical space wizard superhuman marine armored badass on their massive jetpacks can swoop down and save the day. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 5 most underrated infantry units in science fiction. Let me know in the comment section below if I've missed any. I'm sure there are other units that deserve an honorable mention. Also, a special thanks to Liam, one of our fans who actually submitted this script as part of our writer contest. Congratulations, and way to really kind of figure out the voice of humanity first in human supremacy that we like to champion on this channel. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.